All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Saira Mushtaba. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address post-budget webinar on urban planning, development and sanitation this morning. G20 foreign ministers meeting to begin in New Delhi from today. 4-day anti-corruption working group meeting of G20 nations also to be held from today in Gurugram. Repolling for assembly elections underway at 4 booths in Nagaland. All preparations in place for counting of votes tomorrow for Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland. And third test of Border-Gavaskar series between India and Australia to begin at Indore this morning. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address a post-budget webinar on the theme Urban Planning, Development and Sanitation via video conferencing this morning. The webinar will be led by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It will involve discussions on the budget announcements pertaining to various themes in coordination with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment and Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation. It will also be joined by Safai Mitra, NGOs, workers' associations, financial institutions, among others, to share their inputs. The stakeholders will deliberate and prepare an implementation strategy and timelines pertaining to budget announcements. G20 foreign ministers meeting under India's presidency will be held in New Delhi from today. Foreign ministers of member nations of G20 will attend the meet. The External Affairs Ministry said foreign ministers of Brazil, Australia, Mauritius and Turkey and International Labour Organization Sherpa Richard Mark Simmons, among others, arrived yesterday. During the 2-day event, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and several dignitaries are scheduled to share their perspective on the emerging global challenges and international matters. 2 sessions will also be held tomorrow. They will cover various subjects including strengthening multilateralism and need for reforms, food and energy security, development cooperation and counter-terrorism, new and emerging threats. Our Beijing correspondent reports that Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang will attend the meeting, making it the first high-level visit of a Chinese leader since March 2022.
Speaking about Mr. Qin's visit to India for the G20 foreign ministers meeting, Chinese foreign minister said that G20 is a premier forum for international cooperation and urged for more cooperation to overcome the challenges to deliver on the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. Mr. Qin's visit comes on the heels of the first in-person meeting between senior Indian and Chinese officials last week. The 26th meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs in Beijing last week marked the first such talks held in person since July 2019. Experts see the revival of the in-person meetings between India and China as a new beginning and an opportunity to reduce the trust deficit between the two nations. Anshuman Mishra, AIR News, Beijing.
The first Anti-Corruption Working Group ACWG meeting of the G20 is scheduled to begin today and continue till Friday. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh said G20 nations will deliberate on ways to trace and extradite fugitive economic offenders faster besides recovery of stolen assets during the meeting. In a statement, Mr. Singh said India will also reaffirm unified action to ensure zero tolerance against corruption and deepen commitments towards countering graft globally during the meeting being held in Gurugram. The minister said that India's G20 presidency is marked by unprecedented economic, geopolitical and climate challenges. He also said that the G20 ACWG will explore proactive sharing of information, improving existing mutual legal assistance framework and simplifying mechanisms for sharing of information between domestic law enforcement authorities in criminal matters. Mr. Singh emphasized that corruption is a scourge that impacts the effective utilization of resources, overall governance and affects the poorest and marginalized most acutely. The 8th edition of the Raisina Dialogue will begin from tomorrow in New Delhi and will continue till Saturday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the dialogue. Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, will join the inaugural session as the chief guest. The theme of the 2023 edition of the dialogue is provocation, uncertainty, turbulence, lighthouse in the tempest. This year's edition assumes special significance coming against the backdrop of India's G20 presidency. The Raisina Dialogue 2023 will witness participation of representatives from over 100 countries, including ministers, military commanders, captains of the industry, technology leaders, scholars on strategic affairs, experts from leading think tanks, and the youth. The Raisina Dialogue is India's flagship conference on geopolitics and geostrategy. It is organized by the Ministry of External Affairs in collaboration with the Observer Research Foundation. The second Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group ECSWG meeting will be held at Gandhinagar in Gujarat from the 27th to the 29th of this month. It will commence with a side event on water resources management, wherein presentations on best practices in water resources management by G20 member countries will take place. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change said that this will be followed by an excursion and site visit to Adalajbao, which demonstrates the ancient water management practices of India. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. Welcome back. You're listening to Morning News. In Nagaland, re-polling for assembly elections is underway at 4 booths in 4 constituencies. The polling stations are New Colony, Pangti, Jabuka, and Patso East Wing under Zuniboto, Sanis, Tizit, and Tonok New constituencies. Voting began at 7 a.m. and will conclude at 4 p.m. Nagaland recorded nearly 86% voting in Monday's polling. Meanwhile, all preparations are in place for counting of votes tomorrow for assembly elections in Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland. 3-tier security has been put in place for the strong rooms and for the counting day. More details from our Kohima correspondent.
Preparations are being made to hold error-free counting of votes in Nagaland. Official sources inform that counting will start at 8 a.m. tomorrow. First of all, postal ballot papers will be counted and EVMs will be opened after half an hour. Then EVMs and postal ballot will be counted simultaneously. 3-tier security arrangements have been put in place in and around the counting centers. EVMs are being kept under CCTV surveillance, and tomorrow the entire counting process will also be recorded. With Asono, this is Manas Pratim Sharma, AR News, Kohima.
Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attended a credit outreach program in Mangan, Sikkim yesterday. The program was organized by State Level Bankers Committee and SBI at Lachin. Speaking on the occasion, the minister urged the local people to come forward and avail central government's incentives and schemes such as the Kisan Credit Card. She also highlighted various central schemes for women empowerment, which provide a market for SHG products. The minister also distributed checks under central social security schemes to local beneficiaries. The program concluded with traditional dance performances representing all communities of the state of Sikkim. In Madhya Pradesh, the state government will present its budget in the Legislative Assembly today. State Finance Minister Jagdish Deora will present the paperless budget for the first time. Our correspondent reports this will be the last budget of the current tenure of Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan.
Being the last budget of the current tenure of the ruling BJP government, all eyes are on the budget. For the first time, Finance Minister Jagdish Deora will deliver the budget speech in the House using iPad rather than a printed copy. The budget address will also be available on iPads for ministers and all other MLAs. The media will also have access to a soft copy of the budget. On the other hand, Leader of Opposition Dr. Gobind Singh has opposed the digital budget. He said that many MLAs are lacking in a thorough understanding of digital technology. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
Chhattisgarh State Assembly's budget session will begin today with the customary address of Governor Bishwabhushan Harichandan. Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel, who also holds the portfolio of the Finance Department, will present the budget for the next financial year on the 6th of this month. The budget session is slated to have 14 sittings and would conclude on the 24th of March. Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia and Minister in AAP government Satyendra Jain resigned from the Delhi cabinet yesterday. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal accepted their resignations. Manish Sisodia was arrested on Monday by the CBI for alleged corruption in the formulation and implementation of Delhi excise policy for 2021-22, while Satyendra Jain had been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in May last year for his alleged involvement in a money laundering case. Before the resignation of these two ministers, the Delhi government had a total of 6 ministers. Earlier yesterday, Supreme Court refused to grant relief to Manish Sisodia after he challenged his arrest by the CBI. The apex court said Sisodia has alternative remedies available before the High Court and asked him to pursue them instead of directly invoking the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. A high-level team of top officials of the Union Home Ministry arrived in Jammu yesterday on a 3-day visit to review the security situation and developmental works in Jammu and Kashmir. The team is headed by Joint Secretary Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh in the Union Home Ministry, Prashant Lokhande. The team called on Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha and held a detailed discussion regarding the security situation in the Union Territory. The team also reviewed the progress on Prime Minister's development package and issues pertaining to Kashmiri Pandit migrants. The team also reviewed the progress on various centrally sponsored schemes. The MHA team will return to New Delhi on Thursday. India Meteorological Department IMD has said that there is enhanced probability of occurrence of heat wave over many regions of central and adjoining northwest India during March to May season of this year. Addressing a press conference on seasonal outlook for hot weather season from March to May, IMD scientist S.C. Bhan, however, said that there is a low probability for occurrence of heat wave over central India during the month of March.
Heat wave are an important phenomenon which happened during this season of March to May. The probability of heat wave during the month of March to May, there is increased probability that the central parts of the country, stretching from extreme west parts in Gujarat right up to West Bengal, are expected to have very high probability of occurrence of heat waves during the season. Extreme South Peninsula and Northeast India, the probability is less.
On to sports now. In cricket, India and Australia will head into the third test of the 4-match series at Holkar Stadium in Indore today. The match will start at 9:30 a.m. Both sides enjoyed a 9-day rest after the second test in Delhi. The men in blue won the first test by innings and 132 runs and the second test by 6 wickets. India are just a win away from securing the berth in the World Test Championship finals scheduled for the Oval in London in June this year. The beleaguered Aussies will miss the services of their regular test skipper Pat Cummins, who has returned to Sydney to be with his ailing mother. Steve Smith will be leading the side for the third test in Indore. The third test was originally supposed to take place in Dharamshala but was shifted to Indore. Always known for being a batting paradise, the pitch in Indore will likely turn out the same, especially during the first 2 days. And now for a look at today's newspapers, it's over to Ramya.
Thank you, Saira. All the dailies have widely noticed the political churnings in the national capital with the resignation of Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia and Senior Minister Satyendra Jain. Hindustan Times headlines, Sisodia Jain resign as ministers over arrests, while the Tribune reports Sisodia quits cabinet after Supreme Court rejects plea. Jailed Jain resigns too. Papers have also given prominence to the gunning down of the terrorist responsible for targeted killings in Kashmir. The Pioneer headlines, Kashmiri Pandits killer among 2 ultras gunned down, Jawan martyred. The Asian Age has noticed the Prime Minister's remarks during a post-budget webinar in its headline, Digital technology will reach everyone in society, says Modi. China sending Foreign Minister to India for G20 meeting. First high-profile visit in a year, says The Hindu. And finally, with everyone already feeling the heat prepping for a hot season ahead, the Times of India says, India feels the heat, hottest February recorded since 1901. And with that, it's back to you, Saira.
Thanks, Ramya. And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi to address post-budget webinar on urban planning, development and sanitation this morning. G20 foreign ministers meeting to begin in New Delhi from today. 4-day anti-corruption working group meeting of G20 nations also to be held from today in Gurugram. Re-polling for assembly elections underway at 4 booths in Nagaland. All preparations in place for counting of votes tomorrow for Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland. And third test of Border-Gavaskar series between India and Australia to begin at Indore this morning. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a great day.